Part 5 of the evidential research document in relation to directed energy weapons / systems and their link to the international government fraud. And now we're going to show quite a significant link, although there have been some already, but this is a significant link to the child trafficking concerns. So we've come from the research of Siemens. Okay, it was a huge company that was started up in 1847. 3 years after Companies House was started, and that company is linked to, according to research, to supplying materials to Nazi concentration camps, to government bribery, to potential fraud. We know there's links to fraud. They've got the fraudulent entity companies quite significantly, and now we're going to show links through to Jimmy Savile. So you've got this company that we've got to called CMS Cameron McKenna Nabarro Olswang LLP. Okay, it's a bit of a mouthful, but we've now got that connection. Now we're going to come in to this. Now I'm going to put the link in my description. There's a particular video that I suggest people watch, and it's two people that state that they were abused, and one of them witnessed a murder of a child when they were a child on a camp, okay, called Outward Bound Camp. So, and I do suggest you go and look at that video first, and you will see how this links in. So here's just a screenshot from the video, and it's called No Questions Asked: How the British Establishment Hide Child Abuse. So we're going to look at the Outward Bound Trust. And this was a company incorporated in 2008. But remember, these companies, they dissolve, they change, they interlink with others. They open up companies that are in a very similar name, if not the same. Okay, in fact, I've found where they've had a company, they change it a couple of years down the line, they change it to exactly the same name again. And this is to remove accountability and liability. It's a system of government fraud through the forgery of the incorporation documents and the register to create unlawful entity companies that can then be involved in child trafficking and anything else nefarious. So we're now looking at a company that comes up called Outward Bound Trust. So we're going to look through this company. And on the incorporation document, it immediately jumps out because you have a company called Farah & Co. Limited. Now, if you've seen my other videos, which you can go and look out on YouTube or my Telegram channel, and I do suggest that you go and register with my Telegram channel. The link is in the description of this video, because some of the videos are being removed from YouTube because I'm getting too close to the mark, I suspect. It's also being suppressed, comments removed, and also people are having to resubscribe. So go to my Telegram channel, because I believe that is a way you can see more stuff without it being removed. But Farah & Co., let's look at that. So we've already got now a link to Farah & Co. and Outward Bound. Let's look on the incorporation documents first. You have Bryanston Freehold, Bryanston Square. You've got a Animal Health Trust, okay. You've also got the incorporation document. You can look at this on page on the filing history. Go into the incorporation document. You can normally find that as normally the first document on the list, as in the oldest document. So it'll be, depending on which way you look at it, the oldest, the first in age, the oldest on the list, if that makes sense. Not explaining myself very well. And here you can see other Outward Bound companies linked through to it. Okay, so if we go down, you'll see a list of other companies, and you can see the pages of this. So this is page, actually, I know I've got rid of that one, but there are pages on the bottom of some of these. So you can see this is page 28 of 33 of the incorporation document, and this has got various companies on the bottom, and you can see Outward Bound companies. So this shows they have a financial interest. They're linked together. Look at all these schools. You've got loads of schools, and importantly, you've got Grand Lodge Limited. Okay, so we're going to come to that a little bit later. Grand Lodge, and you'll see there's a connection to the Freemasons network or Freemason Society through that we'll come to in a minute. So let's move on. Now, this is where things are very interesting. There was already mentioned in the video, if you watch it from that link, of Jimmy Savile being the founder of the Outward Bound company. But if you look into this one, we now have connections to royalty. And here's the first one. So Beatrice, Royal Highness Beatrice Elizabeth York. Now you've also got a Rothschild connection. Remember, we have connections to the Rothschilds. And I suggest you look at the history of all of this. There's especially if you go on my Telegram, there's a link, and in some of my YouTube videos as well, in the description there's a link to a historical video that seems to explain why we're in this mess. And the Rothschilds feature heavily in that video, and how now also on the same company we've got Prince Andrew linked as a previous director. Okay, so you can see on the right there he was a director from 2009 to 2019. Now if we look into Prince Andrew from this company, you can see you've got the Gordonstown, slightly different spelling than on the incorporation document we saw, a Gordonstown Schools Limited company. Let's look at that company. So registered at Buckingham Palace, still an active company. Let's look at them. So they're linked to an address that is notorious to the fraud, 20 to 22 Wenlock Road, London. Okay, that features throughout. Look at my other videos. Look at the documents. Remember, all of these evidential documents, research documents, are within the document file that I'll put on the bottom in the description of this video, and you can find it on my Telegram as well. And you'll see that that address features throughout, 20 to 22 Wenlock Road. We've already had it mentioned within this document. And you can see that it's got a false registration. Okay, so it should be registered according to the register. The incorporation document, according to the register, should have Gordonstown, or Stone, I don't know how you pronounce that, Schools Limited. No space there between there, but it's not. There's an incorporation document attached to it called British Salem Schools Limited. Salem. Okay, so we're now within the record on the right there, top right. You can see that we're within Gordonstown School, and we're looking at another record. So you go into the people section, remember, click on that person, and it will take you to their companies, and you can just scroll through. And here we are. You have Monk's Investment Trust Public Limited Company, in brackets there. This is the very company that has been mentioned on my Rishi Sunak document recently, that links to my company, international government fraud, and links to child trafficking. And fairly recently, in fact over the last few years, there's been various reports of monks being involved in child abuse on islands around the UK. In particular, the ones I've seen is just off the coast of Tenby in Wales. And here we are, immediately we've now got a connection through to that, through to my company, through to the international banking and government fraud, through to child trafficking, etc. So it's all linked very, very quickly. I do suggest you go and look at the Rishi Sunak document and the videos that are associated with it. There's 7 parts. You'll see the link to Russia, the intelligence agencies, my companies, the child abuse, the monks, etc., all linking in with this as well. So within that person record, we've also got the Prince Philip Gordonstown Foundation Limited. We've also got TSB Bank PLC. Okay. TSB Bank PLC is, I believe, I can't remember without looking, but it's mentioned on another document. I think it's a false illegal entity company. And now, unfortunately, we also have Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal Anne, also as a former director who resigned in 2002. So she was appointed in 1995 and resigned in 2002. Let's look at her companies. And I am not angry, I'm not vindictive against any of these people. It's clearly a very lost system for whatever reason, and it must be changed. There's no going back to this now. We've got the apparent abuse and murder of children. It cannot go back to that. We've got the very clear evidence of the abuse of the criminal system put in place through the forgery of these incorporations. It can't go back to that. And it relates to the taxation system. So now we're now looking at Her Royal Highness, anyway, Princess Anne. So we've got the Royal Yachting Association. Remember, there's lots of yachts companies, links to this. You've got the President of Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky, supposedly received 2 yachts as payment. But anyway, let's go. And we're now looking into a record now, and you've got, just quickly, you've also got yacht companies linked to my company, or individuals within my company. Within 3 companies, they're linked to a yacht company that is an illegal entity companies. You go 3 companies from that, and it links to the World Trade Center disaster. You've also got Sunseeker International Limited, which is based down in that area where my company is based, who has a fraudulent false entity company as well, incorporation. Anyway, let's come back to this. So Princess Anne's other companies. Let's have a look at this one. Arbour Law House Limited. Now you have to look for the documents on this. They appear to be sort of fairly well hidden, but within there, if you look on the filing history like I've got here and look within this section, you can see the date, and you'll be able to find it. Click on View PDF and it shows a different company name. Okay, so it shows Arbour Law House School. Well, that is not what it says on the overview page. Arbour Law House Limited. Okay, so this is fraud, and it doesn't show any other names on the overview. And yet here we are, a document that has a different company name linked to it. And on the bottom of that document, you have John Fleming and Co. Limited. Remember the connection through to my company that I've already documented and shown in videos. And now you have a link as well to a Fleming company. So we're still within this company and we're looking through, and this person, squadron leader, okay, we've already mentioned the Royal Squadron connections through to this. We now have a squadron leader that links to an oil company. Okay, so now we've got oil company. Ramco Oil Services International. Let's have a little look at them. Does their incorporation document match? No surprise there. So it should have, of course, Ramco Oil Services International Limited, but it has this company mentioned on it. Not only that, but it also has a name. This Stephen Mabbott name features throughout the fraud. And also on the bottom, we have Oswald's of Edinburgh Limited, which features throughout the fraud. And let's show you that. So this is the previous research for Oswald's of Edinburgh, and here we go. It links to Sabre Safety Holdings, which links to research surrounding the World Trade Center disaster, but also the special advisor for the last few prime ministers, Douglas Dougie Smith. He's at Rishi Sunak's right-hand side at the moment. He was linked to Fever sex parties. He's been, according to research, he's been arrested for threats to kill, and he also practices the dark arts. So here we are. We have Oswald's linked to that person. We have them linked to the Royal Edinburgh Tattoo, which links through to Jordan's, Michelle Mone research. Okay, and obviously we've got the PPE scandal. And of course, Michelle Mone had the yachts, didn't we? Remember? She had, her husband, I can't remember which. Look at the articles, you'll find it. She has supposedly bought 2 yachts through this system in relation to the PPE scandal. And we've just mentioned the yacht companies. And again, this is just showing you've got Oswald's links to Jordan's. Again, another link to a pagan company in Douglas Smith research. And also it links through to the Ben Houchen scandal in the Teesside area and Vistra, Scotland. So we're now moving through. So we're back into that company, Arbour Law House. And we've got this person, Lieutenant Colonel. Okay. And this Lieutenant Colonel Johnson links to CCAB Limited, a dissolved company on the right there. And let's look at CCAB. They link to an address which is featured throughout the fraud, Salisbury Square. And also, and don't forget, we've got the poisonings in Salisbury. I've got the connections through to my company to Salisbury as well. But interestingly, look at the name changes here. So you've got a name change. It was CAAB, and then it was Glass Zinc from the 30th of November 84 to the 3rd of December. And then they changed their name again on the 3rd of December 1984 to a different company name, but only for, 9 days? 9 days. So this will be a way of laundering, I'm sure, I suspect, a way of laundering money through this company, changing the names and removing accountability. And if we look at their incorporation document, you have to go into... Sorry, it's getting a bit noisy there. Going into the selection of documents section within the filing history, and you can see the same name is mentioned that is mentioned throughout the fraud, that is linked to Swift Incorporations Limited as well at times, as well as Jordan's Limited. They're using the same names, but probably fictitious names or stolen identity names, and this name features throughout. On the bottom you have Jordans and Sons Limited. Now you've also got a Chartered Accountants Benevolent Associations linked to the same company through this person, and on their incorporation documents you have Bates, Wells and Braithwaite again. Just to show that Bates, Wells and Braithwaite show from the previous research, they link through to COVID-19 healthcare support company, okay, and the healthcare side of this system of fraud, as well as the London Law Agency on the left. And you can look at the health document to confirm this. They link through to we're just now showing the Allen and Overy connection that I mentioned earlier. So Allen and Overy now, the previous research. Bates Wells links to the World Trade Center research and links through to Harriet Harman, who was through the National Council for Civil Liberties, as you'll see from other videos, that in particular the World Trade Center document and video was associated with the National Council for Civil Liberties, which was associated with the paedophile information exchange and appeared to be where they were testing the water to consider reducing the sexual age of consent to 10. On the right here, it's just showing the previous research in Madeleine McCann and the links to the London Law Agency. To Bates and Wells. It also links to the London Law Agency as well, which is a false entity company, but it also links to Keir Starmer. So this is not just about the Conservative Party. This is all parties, I believe. There's links to in fact, all parties, I think, have found some sort of element of link. And it links through to Labour. Now we go through within the same person record of that company that we're at. We've got Protocol Education Limited. And on their overview page, as you can see, the changes in their names. Okay, so it changed repeatedly. Initially called Catalyst Education from 1994. We know full well that the educational establishments have been infiltrated a long time ago in relation to fitting the narrative of this fraud, potentially rewriting history as well to fit the narrative of all of this. Okay, it does appear as though this has been a plan in the making for a long time, and you can see that this company changed its name in June 2001, which is 1 month before Larry Silverstein purchased the lease for the World Trade Center building, and a few months before the building collapsed. They then changed their name again in 2005. And their incorporation document has, I haven't actually put the line very well, but they link, I think I've gone over the company name unfortunately, but they link to, in fact that's supposed to be, I think if I recall rightly, the box has dropped on this. I think it's got a very faded company name, but again it links to Ian Saunders and the Waterloo Secretaries Limited Company, and appears to be a forged document. We're within the same person record now again, so we haven't come anywhere away from what we were looking at a minute ago, and we're in the London, we've got the London Association of Accountants Limited with the in brackets, and just to confirm, it's a false entity company because the is at the front. London Associations of Accountants. Now, accountants are key to managing this system of fraud. I know full well that the accountant that we were using, or my company was using, shall I say, has been involved in this. And of course, you would need accountants to be involved to be using the forged bank documents produced by the bank to then falsify the figures for these companies and assist, therefore, in the money being sent into offshore accounts. And here you can see it's linked to Waterloo and Sons Limited. So we're back within CCAB Limited that we were looking at a minute ago, and you can see that within that company, this person links to Ingenious Film Partners LLP. And if you look at my Rishi Sunak document, you will see that that features throughout the research and Rishi Sunak and Carol Vorderman research, and they, if you go into those ingenious companies, link significantly to Swift Incorporations and Jordan's Limited, the same companies that we used in starting up my companies and not our fraudulent entity companies. And we're within the same company now, CCAB Limited. You can see that they've got, through this person, a company called the British Pregnancy Advisory Service. But also, there's a company called Population Matters. Now, remember, we're talking about potentially directed energy systems in place to control the population through sinister means, because we've got the weapon systems all linked through to it that are, well, we know the weapon systems are harmful. We have to therefore consider with all of these evidence that this 5G system is very harmful and could cause serious harm to the general public and affect the population massively. And don't forget, we've got now information that they're pooling pensions, linked to the fraud as well. So just looking through again, CAB links through to the Royal Institution of Cornwall and the Truro Diocesan Board of Finance Limited. Now, if we go into the Grand... Sorry, I've just had to try and... I've lost the link at this point, unfortunately. I've had a quick look. It is there somewhere, but somewhere there's a link to a company called the Grand Charity. But I haven't been able to find it again, unfortunately. But we'll come back in a minute and we'll make it. But this bit from the Grand Charity, it links via this person to... We start getting into Masonic companies now. So you've got the Masonic Samaritan Fund. You've got the Royal Masonic Trust for Girls and Boys. The Masonic Charitable Services. And within, just to show you an example, within the Masonic Charitable Services, you've got Bates, Wells and Braithwaite's, the same company we've already mentioned, linked to Nicola Bulley. Well, it is linked to Nicola Bulley actually, but it's linked to Madeleine McCann as well. Now we're just going back in now to the previous person that we're on. So we're back into a corroborative link now. You've got another Outward Bound Oman UK company. You've also got Outward Bound Corporate Limited and Grand Lodge Limited. Okay, so within the same person record now we've got Grand Lodge Limited. So let's look at that company. Now, if you're not aware, then the Freemasons have a thing called the Grand Lodge. I don't know a lot about it because I've never been Freemason, never had any involvement with them. You've got this company, Grand Lodge Limited, and it was incorporated in 2004. So they, from the 12th of May to the 9th of August 2004, they were called Grand Lodge Publications Limited on the left-hand side at the bottom. But on their incorporation document, you have Waterloo Secretaries Limited. Okay, so we've already mentioned that, haven't we? We know that it's connected to what appears to be the forged incorporation documents, the Walder University fraud scandal, rather, with £122 million that went missing. It's linked all over the documents. It's linked to the currency producer who has false entity companies as well. And here we are. We now have Grand Lodge company linked to it. So let's move forward. And on there you can see that we have Waterloo, various Waterloo companies on the left. Have an address, Freemasons Hall in London, Queen Street. The other address there, Underwood Street, features throughout the fraud, and so does Queen Street. Now we're looking through that same post. We've got another company actually called the Grand Lodge Publications Limited. Let's have a look at them. Here we are. An active company incorporated in 2003. You can see they changed the names on the bottom left there. In fact, they changed the name. Can you see the slight change here? So it was Grand Lodge with no space limited. They then just put a space between the Grand and the Lodge, changed the name, removed the accountability, and then now it's called Grand Lodge Publications Limited. Can you see that, how the subtle changes can change the legality? And they'll know that, of course. Now this is interesting because remember, you've got the Bates Wells connection, which links through to Madeleine McCann very heavily and Keir Starmer very quickly. And now through this, we've got a link to the Portuguese Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Now remember, so if we go through and look at the incorporation documents for that company, you will see various companies that stand out. So this is actually unusual because it's on the signed page that I found this evidence, and you've got Westminster Bank Limited. Okay, we've already mentioned that company on this document. It's a fraudulent entity company. We've got what looks like a Portuguese bank, Banco Tota. You've also got Portuguese Government Trade Office on there. You've got another bank. You've got Rolls-Royce Limited. Now, you'll remember, if you've seen my other videos and documents, Rolls-Royce Limited features throughout. It has a legal entity companies linked to it. You've also got down here the Portuguese National Tourist Office of an address of Bond Street. We've had Bond Street mentioned throughout. Remember, we've got the James Bond, Ian Fleming link. Here we go, bank, another Banco company. So when you go into that company on the people record, we've got this person on the left here, Silvia Fazio, who links to the Italian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Let's go into that company, and we can see they were incorporated in 1958 on the right there. And this is interesting. So remember, we've got originally, so its original name should be the Italian Chamber of Commerce for Great Britain in London, from 1958 to 1968. We have this document, okay, which is the Articles of Association attached to its filing history from on the 2nd of May 1995. It had a company called the Italian Chamber of Commerce and Industry for United Kingdom. But that is within this date, isn't it? That's a year before it officially changed its name. And yet here we are. We have a document, the Italian Chamber of Commerce and Industry for the United Kingdom. It doesn't say that there anywhere, does it? And yet the dates suggest that that should be the name. It's fraud. Now, on the actual incorporation document, let's have a look. I think this does match, actually. 1958. We've got the Italian Chamber of Commerce for Great Britain in London. The Italian Chamber of Commerce for Great Britain in London. They've changed obviously. The Italian Chamber of Commerce for Great Britain in London. Yeah, so again, it's a false entity company because the is in the brackets at the end. Well, let's move forward. So we're within that Portuguese company on the right there. We're within the people record. We're looking at this company now. And this is very important because they are linked to JP Morgan Limited. Remember, I've already explained the JP Morgan links throughout. It's a very old banking company, which we'll look at in a second. And that is linked to my company heavily because the Fleming company names were put to that. The Fleming, JP Morgan, links to Russia, links to the intelligence agencies as seen in the Rishi Sunak document. Please go and check out the Rishi Sunak document. Now, this was incorporated in 1930, this company, JP Morgan. And let's have a little look at their changes of name. So it was originally called Chase Manhattan Limited in 1930, according to this. Then changed the name a couple of times. And then in January 2001, they changed their name again. So they changed it from Chase Manhattan PLC to JP Morgan. And then again changed it in 2011. What does the incorporation document show? Well, of course, it's a forged company. It's an illegal entity company because this is the incorporation document. You can see from the, I think there's a date stamp somewhere. If it's not on here, you'll be able to see it on one of the others, I believe. There you go, 1930. There you go. You can see at the bottom there, they've written the date. So it should be the Chase National Executors and Trustees Corporation Limited. Well, it's nothing like that, is it? It's Chase Manhattan Limited. So that is fraud. Okay, and that is now linked through to the Portuguese Chamber of Commerce. In fact, all of the Chamber of Commerces that I've looked at are linked to the fraud, and some of them have false entity, illegal forgery of the register against their document. So we're now looking back within that company, and we can see we've got P&O Developments linking. Okay, now P&O links through to the World Trade Center disaster. You'll see that. So we're now back in. There's a Masonic charity mentioned in one of the previous documents. I can't remember where.
So we're now looking at the Masonic Charitable Foundation. And here we go. You can see through into the people record on the right there. You've got this person, Edward David John Goodchild. And he links through to cyber security companies. Now, remember, I've been saying about a cyber attack. Now, the fraud controls the cyber security. And this is evidence of that. You've got the fraudulent entities linked all the way through, crime throughout the whole system, and they also control the cyber security. Government, I should say, would suggest cyber security for the country, which now allows them the capability to manipulate and utilize that ability to provide misinformation and disinformation to hide evidence in relation to electronic records through cyber attacks, etc. Now, this is really important, through the same person. Okay, now, any of you in the services, you need to be aware of this, okay? Or in fact, what we're going to do, we're going to stop it here because it's 6 minutes extra I've added here. So what I'm going to do is stop this all in all. It's just over half an hour, this video. So I'm going to stop and we'll do part 6 next.